September 12th, 1916, a small town in the USA named Kingsport. This day was special because something was about to happen in this town that its people had never seen before. The memories of the event that occurred on this day were going to be etched into their minds and shake their souls, something they would not be able to forget for decades. It was morning. People sitting in their houses suddenly heard an unusual echoing sound. Hearing it, people rushed out of their homes and gathered in the streets. For the first time, something had happened in this city that no one could have ever predicted. A traveling circus had suddenly arrived in their town. The circus was named Sparks' World Famous Show. That day, the traveling circus was first going to hold a huge parade and finish at the end, as is normal in circuses, with acrobatics and other acts. Well, everything was supposed to go according to plan. But for the residents of Kingsport, this was the most exciting and biggest event. By afternoon, people started gathering on Main Street. The sound of music could be heard far and wide. Then the jokers and clowns made their entry, marching while playing band instruments. After them came jugglers and their dogs, which were painted in various colors. Not only that, they also had horses, lions, and sea lions. Overall, this circus completely astonished the people of Kingsport. People were thrilled and began screaming with joy. But the main and most exciting part of this parade were its elephants. There were 5 elephants in total, walking right at the front. One elephant was holding the tail of the elephant in front with its trunk, as if a train of elephants was coming. And the elephant leading the line was clearly the star of the show, and people had flocked to see her. This elephant's name was Mary. The circus owner, Charlie Sparks, had advertised Mary as the world's largest living land animal. Mary weighed more than 5 tons. Charlie had raised her with love since she was just a year old. He had taught this elephant many tricks. She could stand on her head, play about 25 songs on a trumpet instrument, and could even throw a baseball. Charlie loved Mary very much because he knew this elephant was the ace of spades for his circus's success. Without her, there would be no circus. During that time, there were many other traveling circuses in America that Charlie had to compete with. But Charlie was new to this game, and his circus wasn't as big as the other competitors yet. See, Charlie's circus, so to speak, was running on Mary's head because most people came just to see Mary. On that day, September 12th, 1916, as Mary was covering half the street on Kingsport's Main Street, people's eyes were wide open with amazement. The man handling Mary, or let's say her driver, was named Red Eldridge. Seeing Red, everyone felt jealous because only he got the chance to ride Mary. Red was 38 years old. Charlie had hired him just the day before. He was new to elephant handling. Although Charlie had trained all his staff to treat the animals very gently, Red was a man with a slightly irritable nature. And for some reason, Red was angry about something and was taking out all his anger on that speechless elephant, Mary. For the past day, Red had been torturing Mary on some pretext or another. Mary did not like this man at all, but still, the poor elephant endured his behavior. On the very first day, Red beat Mary badly with his stick, and even made her walk on a path filled with sharp spikes. Red was just looking for an excuse to trouble Mary. He had started enjoying torturing her. The limit was crossed when he heated an iron rod and applied it to Mary's trunk. Mary screamed in pain. Whenever Mary screamed in pain, this bastard would laugh, showing his teeth, and would throw anything he found at her. It gave him pleasure. Meanwhile, Charlie was unaware that his own beloved elephant was suffering all this. He had no idea about the intentions of his new handler, Red, but later, Mary was going to tear her handler, Red, to pieces. And Mary's revenge was so horrifying that it would have made Red's ancestors' souls tremble. Anyway, the next day, when the parade in that town ended and the normal circus acts were about to begin, Red took Mary to a nearby pond so she could drink water. As Mary started walking towards the pond, she suddenly saw a watermelon lying on the path. She stopped there to eat it. Even more people started gathering around to see Mary. Meanwhile, Mary had now stopped obeying Red because she had endured enough. But seeing this, Red suddenly got angry because he felt people would think he had no control over the elephant. So, in anger, he took a sharp metal rod he had and shoved it hard behind Mary's ear. Mary's skin tore and she trumpeted in pain. Look, Mary was a very gentle type of elephant, but for the past 24 hours, since her new handler had arrived, he had been mistreating her, and now he had shoved a metal rod into her ear. This time, the limit had been crossed. Mary became extremely angry. She threw the watermelon down and turned towards Red. Red got scared seeing Mary like this, and his throat went dry. He felt that now this elephant was going to settle the score of the last 24 hours. So, he left her there and started to run away. But Mary caught him with her trunk and threw him far away. She hit him hard, and seeing this, panic spread among the people standing nearby. But Mary's anger was not quenched. Red was lying there on the ground in bad shape. Mary ran to him, first stared into his eyes, then lifted her front legs and brought down her 5-ton weight on Red's skull. Red's skull cracked right there, and Mary killed him on the spot. When Charlie heard this commotion, he came running and saw Mary was in her full dangerous mode. He slowly went to Mary and calmed her down. After that, Charlie noticed Red's body with its crushed skull lying there. By this time, the people who had run away had returned now that Mary was calm. Now, everyone became furious and started shouting slogans loudly, calling Mary a murderer, murderer. What was happening was not at all good for Charlie's business because the elephant who was supposed to be the star of today's show had crushed her own handler to death. The news of Red's death spread instantly to that town and the surrounding towns, and soon an angry public started arriving to kill Mary. A policeman from Kingsport even fired a gun at Mary, but Mary's thick skin saved her. By this point, Charlie realized that even though Mary was his star of the show, if he took her to perform in upcoming shows, he would be ruined. See, Charlie had a heartfelt attachment to his elephant friend Mary because she was his oldest and most loyal partner. He had raised her like his own child and couldn't imagine running the circus without her. But if he continued shows with his dear Mary, his circus could shut down. Thinking this, Charlie became troubled. He was also afraid that someone might kill his dear Mary because his entire team had now started to hate her. On the night of September 12th, Charlie did not sleep all night. He kept thinking about what he should do now. By the next morning, he had thought carefully about what he had to do, and now he got busy executing that plan. Charlie ordered his entire crew to pack up quickly and move to the next town. The name of that town was Irwin. Charlie said that as soon as they arrived there, they would perform a show that the whole world had neither seen nor heard of before. And the show had to be so dangerous and strong that people would forget about Mary, and their anger towards her would subside. Charlie's entire team reached the town of Irwin the next day around 10 a.m. Immediately after arriving, all the performers got busy preparing for that grand show, which was to end with a parade, then the circus, and then the final act. And this final grand act was the one Charlie had planned all night. The entire town of Irwin had learned about this grand act, so the town was completely packed, and people were arriving from far and wide to see this act. Around 12 p.m., the parade started, but Mary was not included in this parade. She was tied calmly outside the main circus area, near the railway line, where the circus act was to happen later. The circus began. Mary was still tied up outside the circus area. She hadn't been released yet. She stood there tied up, completely confused. Whenever music played from the circus, out of habit and her training, Mary would start dancing and swaying to the music. The question remained, why was she tied up outside the circus? No one knew. Finally, the circus ended. By this point, all the people, after watching the circus, started arriving near the railway track. And as soon as they saw Mary tied up there, they started shouting, "Kill her, Mary! Kill her, Mary!" Then came the turn of that grand act that Charlie had promised to show people. Charlie's 4 elephant handlers arrived near the railway line with the elephants. So many people had gathered that as far as the eye could see, there was nothing but people. Along with the common people, press people had also arrived with their cameras to capture this once-in-a-lifetime act. Now, Charlie arrives on the railroad track with his 4 elephants and the crew. But seeing the growing anger of the crowd, he sends the other 4 elephants back with their handlers towards the circus area, leaving only Mary. People were getting mad with anger. But Charlie, continuously calming Mary, who seemed a little confused, started stroking her affectionately with his hand. Just then, a member of Charlie's crew, who had now come to hate Mary, angrily chains Mary's hind legs to the railway track. Mary was very well trained. Although she was confused, what is happening? Why is everyone angry with me? She still didn't fight back. And then a rail crane makes its entry, stopped just behind Mary. Then, one by one, all the other elephants were hooked and chained and started being lifted onto the train. Now, only Mary was left, and she was also the heaviest. A team member grabbed the chain hanging from the crane, climbed onto Mary's back, and remember, most of Charlie's team now hated Mary. That guy who climbed on Mary secretly wrapped the chain around her neck and quickly jumped down. Meanwhile, Charlie, who was still stroking Mary's trunk, hugged her trunk as he always did and started to leave. The people who had been making noise until now also suddenly fell completely silent. After going a little distance, Charlie signals to the railroad worker sitting in the crane and says, "It's time to go home." Hearing this, the crane worker started pulling the lever. By this point, the atmosphere had become completely quiet, as if the audience already knew what was about to happen. And then suddenly, the sound of chains echoed everywhere, slowly starting to pull upwards. Thanks to the guy who tied the chain, and due to the pull, pressure slowly began to increase on Mary's neck. Mary could not move now because a worker had already tied her feet to the tracks. Above, the crane was pulling from her neck, and below, her feet were tied. Mary was now in full panic mode. She looked towards her owner, Charlie, and began to trumpet loudly as if calling for help. She was still confused, couldn't understand anything. Tears started falling from her eyes as she looked at Charlie, but no help reached her. The crane had now lifted her. It was too late. Even Charlie couldn't do anything now. In the end, the crane put so much pull on Mary's neck that Mary's front legs lifted off the ground into the air. Mary was writhing in pain and confusion. The pain increased so much that with one loud trumpet, writhing in pain, Mary looked at Charlie one last time, and then everything fell silent, as if she had looked into Charlie's eyes and said, "It's okay, goodbye." They kept her hanging from that crane until she died, and now I feel shame and astonishment while telling this. I wish this had not happened. But in the end, that's what happened. Because this was the grand act Charlie had thought of the night before, which hundreds of people had flocked to see. Charlie himself had planned this entire plan, staying up all night. Charlie had sent his most beloved animal and partner, whom he had raised like his own child, to the gallows just so he could garner people's applause. Charlie could have saved Mary, but he chose the crowd's cheers and his circus business. And his business was saved and even flourished in the coming years. But only by killing Mary, and because of its notoriety. Look, that's the same circus that hanged its elephant. After killing Mary, Charlie was never the same laughing, playful Charlie again. It was as if that Charlie had died. He soon retired and passed away quietly in 1944. To this day, the town of Irwin, Tennessee, is known for hanging an elephant on a gallows. What do you think about what Charlie did to his pet elephant? That loyal elephant who loved Charlie selflessly. Was it justified? Was an innocent, loyal, and speechless animal who was in pain and had been repeatedly tormented, which led her to unknowingly take a human's life, was hanging that speechless animal on a noose? That too to garner applause from ignorant people. Was that right? It makes me sick. The most despicable people in that despicable show can go to hell. I feel like cursing. Couldn't she have been sent to a forest? Was taking her life the only option? Let me tell you, by the way, while hanging Mary, the chain broke once, but she was hung back on the crane again. As if humanity had ended, an animal's life just became applause. Her screams were drowned in that noise. She wasn't understood. She was just tormented. Her pain was also turned into a spectacle. She screamed in pain, and in response, she was given death. Tormented sometimes, made to writhe in pain sometimes, and in the end, just erased for a show. One mistake, and complete loyalty turned to ashes. One pathetic show, and her entire life became history.